sorry, because I didn't saw no one. Then what I discovered that there is a problem of time. I was fixed, I don't know why, in another range of time. So in my mind, our meeting was scheduled at 12:15, but then I saw that it is at 1:15. Yeah. So I'm sorry if I sent to someone some request of information, but it was my mistake.
It's okay. It's okay. If you're ready right now for the speech, then it's all okay.
Yeah, I'm ready. Just okay. I try to come back to your image, and I don't know what is happened.
I actually don't know that part. We actually didn't do this, arrange this time schedule. So I don't know, maybe there was a mistake there.
In any case, no problem, because I'm here. When you want, I'm ready.
Okay, then we can start, because it's already time and past the time. Before going along with your speech, let me introduce you firstly. Since 1990, Paola Todini is an Italian lawyer in the field of civil law, with particular attention to contract and family law. In the same period, she begins to work as an assistant professor in civil law. From 2006, she is a lecturer in the field of minors law, civil law, family law, European civil law in different universities. In 2010, she becomes a researcher in the field of private law at eCampus University, where she still works until now, teaching civil law, family law, minors law, and violence against women. In the same university, she was a coordinator of law course of study, and now she is responsible for research and quality system. Since 2011, she is nominated an expert of family law by Children's Ombudsman of Calabria. She was visiting professor at Yıldırım Beyazıt University, Ankara, and at Russian Academy of Justice in Moscow. Publications on civil law matters, she dedicates a relevant part of her research in the field of family law and parental responsibilities. She was a speaker in many international and domestic congress and conferences. The title of her speech today is E-Learning and New Illiteracy, the Right to Education. The floor is yours, Professor Todini.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank all the organization, because really I believe that only through conferences, only through the education, we can change our problem. So maybe it's not a so juridical perspective of the life, but I deeply believe that must be cooperation between fields of study of human being, and law is only something that rules what happens in the society. Mm-hmm. That's the reason why really we have to think on our problem and try to find a legal solution, having regards the reality, having regards the data. There was a very famous jurist in Italy. The name was Orestano. He was the father of the Roman law in Italy. And he theorized that a jurist, first of all, must know law, must know the importance of the decision, but first of all, he has to have in mind the reality. So facts, data. That's the reason why I asked to myself during this COVID, the role that is played by e-learning, because e-learning is a very important field. Without e-learning during this COVID, we will be blocked in our house. Our kids cannot learn, but at the same time, expose us if there is not competency in those that works with e-learning, expose our kids, but also ourselves, because we need training, to a huge number of problems. If we look on the Oxford Dictionary, we can say that e-learning is defined as a system of learning that use electronic media, typically over the internet. And it includes different kind of learning, for example, LMS, Learning Management System. That is a software application for the administration, for the documentation, tracking, reporting, automation, and delivery of educational courses, but also training programs, because we cannot divide these two issues, and generally any kind of learning or development programs. Then we have also other kinds of courses. Just think on MOOC, massive open online courses that they have the characteristics to be available over the internet without charge to a huge number of people. So it's a free access, the majority of them. Then we have another opportunity that we cannot, that is quite unknown in a normal way to teach, because we have the collaborative e-learning, where students can socially interact with other students in distant courses. This is a very big resource. It's a very important, because put together people in education in the same position, but at the same time, if it's not controlled, it's one of the main problems we have, because it can be dangerous, because some information can arrive on our students, on our trainer, and there are information that are out of our controls. There are fake news. There are not correct information. And if there is no capability behind to analyze the information that we receive, it's a non-education, or worse, is something against the education. And then we have something like webinar, training courses that are organized in library or a directory, where each user can join his resource and use them to improve his knowledge. So what we can say that if we compare the classical way to teach, the classical way to learn, there is a more participation of people in the same position of the students or trainer, and there is a big space. There is a space to the auto-education, so the self-education, because you have to prove, to try with this tools that let you deal with yourself. So it's something very important. It can be potentially a very amazing instrument, but could be dangerous at the same time. Why? Because all of these courses, and more generally, every e-learning course can belong to one of the following categories: courses organized by an institutional educational agency, where the control of contents is more efficient; a course where professional educators of institutional educational agency lead students through a critical use of the information that they receive. So a critical use of the information of the society, a critical use of the society technology information. And then there are other kind of courses that maybe are the more accessible by our young, that are out of the control of the community, out of the control of the administration of our states. Why? Because our courses are accessible online, not organized by an institutional educational agency. Maybe they are private, and that despite this are potentially accessible over the net to all students of the world. In this kind of course, as I told you, the control on content and the critical use of information, especially if we speak about tutorial or other kind of cooperative e-learning courses, burden only on the skills, capability, and professional level of the organizer, of the teacher, of the course. So what happened if one of the teacher or someone who proposes himself as a teacher has not the skills or is not able to give a correct information, it will happen that the false information spread all around the net. It means in the mind of our young without any control, and they are in front of some kind of information that are not able to analyze by themselves, and that are false. I'm not speaking to make a censure, to make a control information. I'm just saying we have to avoid any kind of situation where students, people that are not able to analyze by themselves the difference between a fake news and a real information, are alone without any kind of control. It is clear for what I analyzed till now that the effectiveness of an e-learning, in any kind of e-learning course, to realize the fundamental right to education of citizens depends on what? On the morality, as we say, but at the same time, on the digital competences and e-skills of teacher trainers, and at the same time of students, because in a not organized by an institutional agency, by a private, the only chance we have to understand if a news is a real one, is a correct information, or is a fake news, it's only on the shoulders of the digital competences of our students, because there is no filter, no other kind of filter. Just for remember, the right to education is not just a right. If we can make a hierarchy of rights, it's a fundamental right. And it is recognized and it is contained in the Universal Declaration on Human Rights. You can find it, for example, also in the UNESCO Convention Against Discrimination in Education. And if we speak just limited to the educational rights of children, it is contained in the New York Convention, that is the base of any kind of legislation of protection for kids. But it's not a right that belongs to young. Educational right is linked with dignity. It is recognized for adults in many other international human rights conventions because of this link with dignity. And at the same time, it is recognized in EU Charter of Fundamental Rights that in Article 14 express this right as a fundamental right. So anyone, adults or kids, any citizens under EU Charter, has the right to receive education, because as we know, you know better than me, because I'm just a lawyer, you work in the field of the society, and to understand the society, the acknowledgement is the only chance to be free, is the only chance to make accurate choice, and so on. In a domestic perspective, we have to say that this right is also recognized and supported by the majority of the Constitution. I'm Italian, I cannot forget to give a mention to my constitution. And I'm so proud that the Article 43 of the Italian Constitution declares that schools are open to everyone. No differences of class, no difference of sex, no difference of races, no any kind of difference. Schools are open to everyone. Primary education given for at least 8 years is compulsory. Why it's compulsory? Because we recognize as a legal system the importance of the education in the society, for the reason I underlined just a couple of minutes ago. And it's free, because we need to give the access to the right of education. We cannot put a barrier to this right just because of economical reason. And then my article go ahead, but we have no time to analyze it, because he gives the opportunity to deserving pupils, also those that have problem, that has a lacking financial resources, to receive high level of education. So what it means? It means that the e-education, online education, let us say, e-learning is the expression of an education, is a duty for states because of the reason, the legal reason that I explained just very shortly to you, and at the same time is a duty of the societies. States must avoid any kind of new form of illiteracy among their citizens. Why? Why I'm speaking about a new form of illiteracy? If I'm not able to deal and to learn, to deal with the education and to learn and to use the system online, I'm not able to deal with other person. I'm not able to participate in a conference. I'm not able to attend a class. I'm not able to give a class. One of the main problems we have in Italy is that the new generation, they are native. They have no kind of problem on e-skills. They have problem maybe in digital competencies, but they have no problem with e-skills. On the opposite, our teacher, especially those that are over an age, and I put myself in this class of people, our teacher, so me, we struggle to use perfectly the net, to use perfectly the system that produces a MOOC and so on, because we are not native digital. So it means that when I have to transmit something to my students, when I have to exercise my duties as a professor, if I have not the skill, if I'm not entitled of e-skills, I'm not able to transfer this competition. And at the same time, if my students, they receive a link to watch a video or whatever you want, and they are not able to, and they are not entitled of digital competences, maybe alone or in the activity they do with their friends as a cooperative learning, they can make mistake. So is a new form of illiteracy. Direct, if you are not able to work in the field of e-learning, and indirectly, because if we are not able to teach, we are going to create not illiteracy, but we are going to create general illiteracy. So this is the reason why public policies are called to realize action against this new expression of illiteracy. And according to the United Nations Agenda 2030, we have to improve this kind of skill. Indeed, the Sustainable Development Goal number 4 is rate-based and seeks to ensure the full enjoyment of the right to education as a fundamental to achieving sustainable development. So if we want to continue to develop, we need to make our young, to create new citizens that are able to use this, that are able to use these tools, but more deeply. What we need to support and develop in order to stop this new illiteracy. And with that, I'm going to touch the central part of my speech. We need e-skills and digital competences, what they are. If we look on the Eurostat, so the Statistical Office of the European Union, the Eurostat defines e-skills as capability required for the effective application of ICT system by devices and devices by the individual. So e-skills are no less than capability to use the ICT. In general level, e-skills cover digital illiteracy. In our perspective, students need e-skills as a tool to support their study, and simultaneously, teacher, professor, trainers, they need to acquire e-skills to realize professionally e-learning activities and classes. According to the annex of the recommendation of the European Parliament and of the Council of 2006, I'm speaking about 18 December, the recommendation on key competencies for lifelong learning, Digital competence are different from e-skills, and they involve the confident and critical use of information society technology. So the digital competence that are competence that generally students, youngs need to know, because they are also, if they are native digital, they have not the digital competence, is the must linked with the activity of teaching. Because the use of computers, the e-skills are allowed you to retrieve, to access, to store, to produce, to present, to exchange information, and to communicate and participate in collaborative networks. But digital competence requires a sound understanding and knowledge of the nature, role, and opportunities that rise from the IST in everyday context. So if we receive a news and we are not able to analyze, we have not access to this news. And this is what we need to give to our students. So from one side, e-skills to teacher and digital competence to students. Obviously, both of them, they must have both capability. But if we look on statistical data, what appear is that native, they have no problem. Digital native, they have no problem in e-skills, but the other one, so professor, the other that are on the other side of the wall, they need to improve. And at the same time, news without digital competence are no news, because our students are not able to analyze, are not able to read, are not able to compare, are not able to distinguish a false news from a real information. So concluding, our official statistical data shows that the e-education level, e-skills and digital competence in EU, but generally all around the world, with obviously some difference between country and country. In North Europe country and in the United States, e-skills will be for sure more developed than in other countries. But generally we can say that this statistical data shows that e-educational level is not enough to prevent illiteracy. And obviously, the pandemic situation and the use of e-learning in a context of illiteracy will produce negative effect in the general illiteracy, as I told you, because information, notions, and education are received through these tools. Solution, because we have to think on solution. We have to push in some way our government as a scientific society to find solution. First, states and the international community must address their public policy supporting correct e-education through campaign of education, sensibilization of people that are involved, and financing this kind of e-education. Developing e-skills for teacher, professor training through special courses for them. My university is an online university. Before to start to teach in this university, more than 10 years ago, I was forced to make a course that teach me how to deal with all these e-learning tools. Otherwise, my capability to teach will be covered by the tool. For example, as we used 40 years ago, when I start my work, we used to give information, a lot of information, paper and paper written. If you give us slides with 10 lines, no one will read. Or if students are forced to read and are forced to study, their attention is for sure pushed down. At the same time, if I have to make a video, I cannot speak for 40 minutes because the attention will fall down. I have to give first short and shocking information, and then we can give to our students paper and so on. So this is the first. I need to develop the skills of teacher through special courses that are for them. Obviously, this kind of courses must be free because it's a duty of states. And then we need to control their e-capability, maybe introducing a special license for those that would like to teach online. This is also a solution that can be realized without so much expenses of money and at the same time without changing our system of teaching. Then for sure, a strict control on free courses organized by private and non-institutional educational agency. But for that, we have the law that will help us, because if there are information that can be considered against general principle of any state, you can stop them. This is the normal action that our legal system can use in order to prevent this diffusion of false information that will change and can give a bad influence on our students. But moreover, states and the community must support the education in digital competences for citizens in order to make conscious and responsible citizens that are able to have a critical approach on information that they receive online. And when I'm speaking about citizens, I speak about kids and adults. That's my contribution to your so important and really, I have to say, so interesting conference. So thank you very much. If there are someone who would like to ask question, or I'm here.
Thank you, Professor, for your very informative and nice speech. And I really like your expression, new illiteracy. This problem actually is what has burst out during pandemic. And, there must be done something about it to complement this, lack of competence and e-skills, as you mentioned. If now we can take questions or comments if there is any. For Professor Todini. I think there is none, but I really enjoyed your speech. Thank you very much. And thank you for being with us today.
Thank you to you.
Thank you. Have a nice day, Professor.
Have a nice day.